there custard creams, Little Cosmic Crow has started a hell of a tag and it looks fun and I would like to get involved. I've been tagged actually by Little Cosmic Crow and also by Rainbow Pagan, Jamie, and so basically I'm just going to go ahead and do it. I'm going to link to both of those channels down below. If you want to watch the original video by Little Cosmic Crow, go ahead and do that. Also, I highly recommend watching Rainbow Pagan's video. I really enjoyed his answers as well. So now I'm going to give my answers to these really interesting quirky questions, and I'm going to crack a SoCo and get on with it, darlings. Right, let's have a little look. What are these questions? What are these questions? Where's my cup? I want to be civilised, damn it. Oh, here it is. I'm having a bit of SoCo with lime and lemonade in a mason jar. Look at that, mate. It's aesthetic. Okay, here goes nothing. This is the Get to Know Your Witches tag started by Little Cosmic Crow. I'm going to begin with question number 1. Does your sun sign portray you correctly? If not, do your other planetary signs. I have always said that I am a typical Sagittarius, like, you know, pretty much universal definition Sagittarius. When people ask me what is your sun sign or what is your zodiac sign, I say I'm a Sagittarius, and it's all the way over. I'm a hard Sagittarius basically. So yeah, I'd say a lot of the things that I read about the character of the Sagittarius do match up with me. I personally really liked what Rainbow Pagan had to say about this particular question in relation to things like daily horoscopes and stuff like that. It doesn't really resonate. It doesn't resonate with me either. I feel like, look, there's so many different ways that you can read what's happening and how that relates to the different signs. I really do like the idea of finding astrologers that you're really personally connected to, that you often feel like their work resonates with you, and obviously there's a massive crop of different types of astrologers from different schools out there for different people. I feel like I definitely don't have any astrologers that I necessarily check in with week after week or month after month. It's not how I personally roll, but I definitely can appreciate that the different schools of astrology and the different styles of astrologer could mean that you find yourself landing in a really good area where there's a website that you always check, or there's a YouTube channel that you always watch, and you find that their advice and their insight is very relevant to you and very relevant to your sign. I don't personally do that, but like I said, I would say that I am a bit of a classic Sagittarius, and I have actually made a video about how much of a Sagittarius I actually am, and kind of going online and looking at all the different sort of characteristics and stuff, so I'll leave that video down below. In relation to what's going on elsewhere in my chart, I actually came to the whole notion of getting my natal chart done quite late in the game. I'm really glad that I actually did it and that I went through it and I looked at it, because it was absolutely astounding. There were so many aspects of my character that were not necessarily Sagittarius characteristics whatsoever, and some that were in direct contradiction to what it means to be a Sagittarius on paper. Being able to actually absorb the entirety of my chart and kind of coming to understand that I've got like a Virgo moon, for example, I've got a Gemini ascendant, figuring out, you know, what North Node and South Node are and where those are for me, looking at the fact that my Venus is in a certain sign, is like, it really just started to make me think, wow, this stuff really does truly deeply have something to it. This is really incredible. Question number 2, what songs bring you the most magical vibes? Music is a massive part of my magical practice. It's a huge part of what I do in witchcraft, so this is an entire video all on its own, and I'm almost a little bit bothered by this question because I know that there's so many important tracks that have brought me so much wisdom and so much transpersonal experience, and I don't have the chance to honour them all right now. I have to just like say a small handful of them and move on, and something bothers me about that, you know. But just right off the top of my head, actually, when I first looked at question 2 was when I was watching Rainbow Pagan's video, and before he'd actually said Fleetwood Mac, I was already thinking Fleetwood Mac. Especially anything from Tango in the Night, which is one of my all-time favourite albums, and even the front cover of Tango in the Night makes me feel instantly witchy. I can totally put myself into that world, that glittery, tropical, beautiful world. I can path work right into that, and I was doing so when I was really young, and my mum got Tango in the Night on vinyl for her birthday, and I was like, what the fuck is this bewitchery? I love it. So anything from Tango in the Night, I just love all the sparkly, starry noises on there as well. And of course, Stevie Nicks vocals, oh my God. Yeah, and you just, I mean, God, Lindsey Buckingham working his particular magic. And then also Edge of 17 was the other thing that I immediately thought of, which is actually a Stevie Nicks solo track rather than a Fleetwood Mac track. I also find a Voodoo Child by Jimi Hendrix to be incredibly transformative very, very quickly. If I just whack that through my rockets, within about 20 seconds I start to feel myself being cellularly changed. What else? There's quite a few tracks by Led Zeppelin I find to be super witchy and enchanting, especially hats off to Roy Harper, which I swear used to make me feel high when I was a child, and I had no idea what feeling high was all about, but I was feeling high. I was feeling high. I also really, really love Spell by Patti Smith. I've often found that to be an incredibly witchy, very enticing, very sort of enchanting track. And the lyrics to Spell is actually Footnote to Howl by Allen Ginsberg. And so it's just a kind of an interesting collaboration, I suppose you could say. But the way that she speaks it, the way that she orates it, it is truly an incantation. And that's why she called it Spell, I'm quite sure. And I love the live version that I think was recorded in Portland, Oregon. And I will leave a link down below to the live version on YouTube. Do yourself and your ears a fucking favour. Oh my good goddess. I don't actually know if there's a fucking studio version, to be honest. That could have just been something she decided to do live. But it's incredible with the sound of the audience in the background, and just the raw nature of what she's doing with her voice, and the repetition of the word holy, 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 holy at the beginning is just so fucking witchy. Oh, also, I really want to mention this just quickly. There's so many, but let me mention this one. So Marry the Night by Lady Gaga. I can't believe I just said that wearing a Killswitch Engage t-shirt, but stick with me. Marry the Night by Lady Gaga. I played that one Samhain when I really just needed to fucking feel myself. I needed to get back right with my own sense of what the dark can give me in terms of empowerment and enrichment. And I just sat alone with my altar lit up like a Christmas tree, and I listened to that. Oh, I'm feeling emotional, just the memory of it. Those lyrics in the chorus are so me. I'm gonna marry the night, I'm not gonna cry anymore. Marry the night. Sorry, where was I? Question 3. Which one of your deities, guides or ancestors is most sarcastic with you? If this doesn't apply to you, which of your tarot or oracle decks is? I'd like to do both to answer this question, actually. I work with an assortment, a whole host of different beings, deities, archetypes, icons, darling, you know. And I must say that hell can be not sarcastic necessarily, but very, yeah, all right, she's sarcastic, I guess. Some of the ways that she interacts with me are very kind of like, bitch, do you really need it any clearer? And I remember one time I actually tweeted about this. I was having some messages come through to me in dreams, and I consulted the cards in order to ask Hel, who's my matron deity. I wanted to ask her if the messages were coming from her. And the cards that I turned over were like Death and 10 of Swords. And it was almost like she was going, yeah, any fucking time today. So that was quite amusing. I also like to work with Freddie Mercury, and yes, this is definitely very much pre-Bohemian Rhapsody movie. I know everybody's jumping on the Freddie Mercury bandwagon now, but it's been real love for me and Freddie, okay, since I was born. So I do like to work with Freddie Mercury. I do feel like there's a very sardonic vibe with him, where he just tells me to get my glad rags on and fucking do the thing. Just do it. And that's very helpful for me sometimes. So I wouldn't say it's sarcasm, but it's very much like, just get a grip. Just get a grip, get snappy, pull your socks up, make it happen. Make it happen, because I can't make it happen for you. I do have a close relationship with Frida Kahlo, and I've always had a close relationship with her since I was about 14 years old. And I tend to find also that her energy is not necessarily sarcastic, but it is more on the tough love side of things. Oh yeah, hang on. I also said that I would do my most sarcastic tarot and oracle decks. I would say that there are some tarot decks that just speak in very straight sentences. I tend to find that one of them, for me, when I'm doing readings for myself, that speaks in very straight sentences is the Osho Zen Tarot. That is very much kind of, it often sort of hands my arse to me, or underlines something that I already knew to be the case, and kind of gives me that loving bitch slap, you know, a bit of a metaphysical throwdown for me when I need it most. So that's one of them that I would say. Another one actually is Rider-Waite-Smith Tarot, which I know a lot of you are aware is my favourite traditional 78 card tarot deck, not because I think it's by any stretch of the imagination the best one, but because of the historical importance of it and the sentimental value of it, and the fact that Pamela Coleman Smith is a fucking rock star. So, you know, I have a very close relationship with Rider-Waite-Smith, and maybe that's why over the course of time it's become one of those decks for me that really does tell me about myself in a comfortable way that feels loving and feels secure, but also feels sometimes very much needed. Biggest witchy mess up or misinterpretation is the fourth question in the tag. This is a really good one. I did actually watch Rainbow Pagan's video just before making mine, and I did like the way that he touched on the fact that he kind of very much judged Wicca and didn't want anything to do with Wicca and was very kind of down on Wicca. I think I definitely went through that phase as well. It wasn't something I was super vocal about. I wasn't like coming on to the channel talking about it. It was sort of many moons before I started the channel. I think I definitely had my strong feeling that I wanted to get as far away from Wicca as I possibly could, and I probably for certain looked down on it, and that was, I think, definitely a huge fucking mistake. It's a paradigm like any other paradigm, and you can be highly intelligent and feel like Wicca is a useful paradigm for you. It gets you to where you want to be, it makes sense for you, and so you use it, you know. It doesn't mean in any way that you are not aware of anything else or you never moved on to anything else. That's a bunch of heinous bullshit, and I'm so glad that I'm just, I don't know, not an adolescent anymore, and I don't think that way anymore. Obviously there are some people that still think that way, and they are nowhere near adolescence, but that's their journey. This is my journey. That's what they're doing. This is what I'm doing. But for me personally, I'm glad that I sort of got over that idea, because it's obviously based on a lot of untruths. I think lurking around in online forums first, and then sort of coming onto YouTube and watching videos for quite a while on YouTube before I started my own channel, helped me to understand so much more about Wicca. And not that, I mean, obviously a lot of the initial resources I had were Wiccan resources. They were books about Wicca. That was a lot of what was accessible to me at that young age. But realising that a lot of the mistakes I'd been making, the judgment that I'd had towards it, was really something that, you know, didn't need to stand. That was really good for me. I definitely also had some judgments about people who worked with personified deity, and that is obviously something that's come interestingly full circle now, where I now do work with personified deity and comfortably talk about it on my channel. And I do experience judgment from people who are shocked and dismayed to learn that I work with personified deity. So it's all come back around to me. Ah, karma. I had some judgments about goddess spirituality, I think. I definitely had my backup about that. I definitely had to go on my own journey with what it means for me, what my womanhood means for me, what feminism means to me, what the whole journey of that looks like and how it applies to me, before I could really recognise that actually it makes a lot of sense to talk specifically about the veneration of the female and the, you know, the enhancement of your connection to goddess specifically. So definitely had some misjudgments about that. Definitely worked through them over the course of time. That went hand in hand with working with personified deity, really. Those two things worked themselves out alongside each other. I definitely also went through that phase that I think a lot of people go through on their witchy journey, where they tell themselves that everything has to be really overwrought, very, very flowery, incredibly ostentatious, or just overly well planned. Do you know what I mean? Just like really rigorous, and everything had to be just planned out in these, I don't know, reams of admiral's log style writing, and everything had to be perfect, and I had to get all the stuff I needed, and I had to plan it. And I was definitely sort of introduced over the course of time to this idea of just quick and dirty magic. Do it however you want, do it however feels right, don't make a big deal out of it if you don't want to. And it kind of made me realise as well that too many details and too much stuff and too much of an overt sense of pressure to create something so elevated and so useful actually makes it less useful a lot of the time. I think I hadn't yet picked up on the fact that as a witch I could do what I enjoyed doing, I could do what I really liked rather than just what I thought I was supposed to do. And that's something that everybody goes through, and you know, that's something that for me I picked up on very strongly and wanted to dismantle very strongly. And that's why a lot of my work is about sovereign freewheeling spirituality, you know, being that kind of rebel in your own spiritual practice, taking what works for you. Because I know that for me that was one of the major breakthroughs, was recognizing I could do what I wanted, what made me feel good, what made me feel fizzy, and if it only took fucking 30 seconds, then fine, it only takes 30 seconds. What works is what matters. And I think I had to come to that realization through a lot of misjudgments about what it really means to do effectual magic. Okay, Question number 5. Would you write a book on your craft or spirituality? Why? And if you already have, what were your challenges in doing so? Well, sweethearts, I definitely am planning on writing a book about my craft and spirituality. It's actually something that is taking shape. Fucking finally. I can imagine 1 or 2 people watching this right now going, oh, is it? Well, fucking hell, what do you want, a cookie? Get on with it. And I will be, don't worry, I'm planning to get on with it. Yeah, it would definitely be about exactly actually what I was just talking about with the previous question right at the end of my answer, where I talked about sovereign spirituality, building your own thing, making something that speaks to you as an individual, that makes sense according to your personal journey, archetypes that you are connected with, locations that you are connected with, tools and resources that make sense for you as an individual, not something that's been, you know, sort of prescribed to you by a tradition or by others. My book would definitely delve into my own practice, talking about how I got to the point where I felt the freedom and the confidence to be sovereign. And I would definitely offer a lot of tips and a lot of techniques for making the practice more sovereign and more about you as an individual. That is not to say, however, that the book would disparage coven work, or that the book would disparage, you know, already sort of built up traditions. There is a place for all of those kinds of things, and I would definitely never disparage any of that or say that it's no good or that we should throw it away. But my book would specifically be for people who are more those kind of sovereign solo creatures who want to make something that feels like it has something to do with them, and maybe they keep getting lost in a sea of toxic comparisons maybe, or feelings that they have to include certain things, maybe worries about what would happen if they don't include certain things that seem to be a part of the canon of witchy activities and witchy beliefs. And I would like to write a book that gives people the freedom to just cast that off and do what the fuck they feel they need to do to make their practice fizzy. I can definitely see myself also writing other books along the way as well, about maybe my trials and errors, maybe my challenges, things I've learned that have helped me to improve and strengthen my craft over time, maybe talking about the things that I feel help me to become more advanced in my craft and better at magic and ritual and getting results and that kind of thing. But I think definitely the first book that I've ever envisioned writing about the craft would be about that sovereignty aspect of it, which I think is such an addictive substance for me. The discussion around spiritual sovereignty and building your own thing is something that's always been really interesting to me, and it's definitely one of the things that's gathered the audience to me that I have now. I think a lot of people that watch my stuff or really resonate with what I'm saying, they are also those sort of sovereign spiritual maverick, you know, mystical magpie types, and that's why we've come together, and that's why the comments section is always so eventful and effervescent, because people end up talking to each other and they have that same sort of maverick archetype that they want to apply to their spirituality. So I think it makes sense to write a book like that. If someone wanted to summon you to their circle, what 5 items would they need? This is a very cool tag, I must say. Okay, if someone wanted to summon me to their circle, what 5 items would they need? I'm still sitting here, and I don't know where to start. Obviously some kind of vegan munch, let's begin there. Right off the top of my head, I'd say I'd love some party rings right about now. I was eating some party rings the other day because they're doing mini ones now, which is really cool. So I discovered them and I was like, oh, I haven't had a party ring in a few years. Or maybe some vegan cheese and crackers, you know, sort of munchy bits and pieces, you know, make me some vegan sausages, I don't know, surprise me. Definitely lay on a spread, lay on a cruelty-free spread, darling. The second thing that I would suggest for people that want to call me into their circle would be some chimes. I really do respond to these babies. I love them, and you know, I will have heard them many, many times in my previous life as a human, so it definitely will tempt me in. The vegan munch plus the chimes would be great. I might be more inclined to go into a circle where I was being summoned if the people creating that circle and summoning me were dressed flamboyantly, so that's something to definitely consider. For anyone who in the future would like to summon me in, maybe wear something a little colourful, a little unapologetic, get a few more accessories on than you would have otherwise done, and that probably will up your chances. Another thing is some kind of artificial light, like neon light or kind of glow sticks or a lava lamp or something like that. I hate overhead lighting. I really like mood lighting, you know, ambient lighting. Let's get a concept going on, darling. And if the lights can be different colours, if they can be flashing, if they can be like coloured fairy lights, something of that nature, I love all that kind of thing. I do really like candlelight as well. In fact, the best thing for me is to have a combination between artificial light and then the naked flame kind of light. So yeah, if you can get that going on, that might also tempt me in. The final thing that would probably get me to come into your circle when you summon me is to do some kind of an opening statement or an address to me where you say hi to me, and you could probably do with saying something like, hey Pop-Tart, just to take the piss, and then also make sure that you swear, make sure that there's some profanity in there, and maybe also some analogy, because you know I'm a bit of an analogy person, I'm the analogy queen. So if you can get some things in there that make me realise that like, I'm being summoned from the astral to go and play with some people who know who I am, clearly, you know, appeal to me with your opening address and we can definitely have some fun. Question number 7. If you were a ghost, what place would you haunt? Wow, that's really deep. I find that to be really deep. It doesn't have to be that deep though. That's the thing I always need to remember. It doesn't have to be that deep, but it just felt very deep when I read it and started thinking about it, because I immediately thought that I would like to split my ghost up into parts and I would like to haunt different places. I'd like to preside over them. I don't want to haunt them in any way that could be unpleasant for people coming by or trying to spend time there. But I would like to leave different parts of my energy signature in different places that have meant so much to me. And I think one of them would be a place called the Poldis Valley in Cornwall, near a little place called Crofthandy, for personal reasons to do with someone that is so important to me and made such a deep impact on my life, that we've actually decided that if I ever die, he's going to take some of my ashes there and scatter them. So I may as well be there. And I'd love to leave a piece of me at Stonehenge. Oh God, I'd love to leave pieces of me in so many different places. I'd love to leave a piece of me on Ivinghoe Beacon. I'd love to leave a piece of me somewhere in New York City. God, it's emotional. I promise you this is my first drink of the day, Jesus. I'd love to haunt the Highlands as well, just because it sounds cool. Am I allowed to do that just because it sounds cool? I mean, I have been to the Highlands, but it was a long time ago, but I just feel like, yeah, I feel like haunting the Highlands. I want to leave a piece of me in Moscow as well. I want to split my ghost into loads of different pieces and just try and talk to people in different languages in their ear, and they'll be like, what the fuck was that? Did you hear that? I heard something. Did you hear something? Question number 8. What is the funniest way someone has reacted to finding out that you are a witch? I mean, there's not actually been that many funny responses, but one response that does tend to make me laugh a little bit is when people instantly reply with something that I feel is trying to show me that they understand what I mean, and they very quickly will say something like, well, are you a black witch or a white witch, or something like that, and I kind of think to myself, we're lost here. One of us has a compass, and I feel that you think it's you, but I don't think it is, darling. That was a bit fucking rude and sarcastic, wasn't it? I had a little bit of shadow popped out there. That was a little off colour. I might have to look at that later. There are times where you tell somebody that you're a witch and they respond with these reams of information that they know from an auntie who's a witch, or a shopkeeper they know who's a witch, or a landlady in a pub they know who's a witch, and they get really sort of like, I know this and I know this and I know this and I know this about it. And it's great. It's lovely, the enthusiasm. I'd rather have that than have like, begone, evil one. But it's interesting to me how people that aren't very aware of it will have that point of access into it, and then I don't know if they want to overly display that knowledge in a kind of excited way, or if it's more like a defensive thing, like, I know about that, you know, you're not leaving me in the dust, I know about the occult. I'm not sure, it could be for different reasons, but it's quite funny how that sometimes happens. Or like I said, quite a few times I've been asked, well, are you a black witch or are you a white witch? And it's like, are we talking about melanin here, or something you picked up from a Hammer horror movie? I'm not sure what you mean, darling. A couple of people have straight up just asked me immediately, do you do curses, do you do hexes, do you do malevolent magic? And I actually don't mind that. I respect that far more than the black witch, white witch thing, because I feel like people who have adopted that idea that there's black magic, evil magic, nasty magic, wrong magic, and then there's this white light, purification, healing magic, they clearly haven't delved into it much deeper than that. So if they're talking at me from almost an authoritarian point of view, which has happened a couple of times, then I'm much less likely to enjoy that than if somebody just says outright, you know, do you do magic against people? I actually kind of don't mind that as much. Oh my goddess, I can't believe I also forgot to mention this. There are some people that have just straight up told me that they're shocked that I believe that kind of shit. You know, there's a few people in my life over the course of time. I don't think I'd allow this response anymore. I don't think anybody that responded this way would end up being my friend or partner or anything. But in the past, when I was younger, in my 20s and stuff, I've had people say things like, Kellyanne, you're so intelligent and so together. I can't believe you believe in that mumbo jumbo. It's just a bunch of nonsense. Like, it's really surprising. No, I mean, I'm not being rude. But it's just surprising. And it's like, okay, you are being rude, number one. And two, you obviously have not even a baseline level of understanding of what it is that you're disparaging. Otherwise, you wouldn't be saying that, damn it. I mean, I'm not saying everybody who would learn about the craft would then go on to become a witch, but what I am saying is that it's obvious when someone has not done much talking to real witches about what really goes on with real witchcraft when they start saying things like that. And you just have to laugh at that in the end. Question number 9. Do you have any superstitions? No, I don't have any superstitions at all, actually, that I can think of remotely. I don't really do anything for luck either, apart from obviously like the magic and the ritual and the affirmations and the calling my goddesses to me, but I don't see that as superstition. I see a superstition as a kind of cultural bind that you find yourself in, that you've got to do a little dance to wiggle out of, and I just don't believe in that. That's just not something that is, I suppose, very connected to my character as a human. I personally feel like I've done a lot of work to emancipate myself from many of the most overriding, like presiding cultural norms that exist in my society today. So why would I be worried about something like not stepping on the cracks or holding my collar when I see a black cat, or I don't know, fucking worries about 7 years bad luck if I break a mirror. I mean, these things, I think, they just don't really resonate with me personally. It's really weird that this question should come up though, because I've been talking about superstitions to my partner recently, and we've been kind of backing and forthing on superstitions that we are aware of and that we know that other people sort of watch out for, but like me, my partner also is not really one to be affected by those things, but it's interesting to collect knowledge of them. It's really intriguing to look at superstitions in other cultures, and I've done that a few times, so I am quite savvy about superstitions from other places, and sometimes I've even asked somebody from a specific place, like, oh, did you grow up with that superstition? So it's all very fun. It's all fun and games. What's the next question? Let's have a look. Okay, number 10. If you could possess any fantasy magic, what would your power be? For the longest time, I probably would have said mind reading, quite honestly. I probably would have said mind reading. I do not want to read people's minds anymore. I think that would be thoroughly invasive and also awful for me, and it would drive me really quite batty, and it would just be a really weird experience. I don't really want to know what people think of me. It's none of my business. And I also have worked very hard to get to the point where sometimes I'll read things that people think of me in comments under videos or in Facebook groups, and it's not very nice. And I'm cool with it. I'm chill with it. I don't care. I'm just going to carry on doing me. So, you know, I've worked hard to get to that point, so why would I want access to people's potentially negative thoughts about me, and also just their thoughts that I wouldn't have thought they would think, you know, access to their shadows and things like that, their shadow contemplations. I think that would be altogether way too much. I used to like the idea of it in the past. I think probably reading Interview with the Vampire and shit like that, and the idea about them reading each other's minds and, you know, reading the human minds and stuff was really enticing to me. I need to decide what I would like my superpower to be. I don't know. You know that film, is it called Jumpers or Jump or something? It's got Jamie Bell in it, the guy that played Billy Elliot, and loads of other things, but like, just in case you don't know who he is, he played Billy Elliot. They can jump to different locations. They can change their location at the drop of a hat, and they have different jumping points, so they can go to the pyramids, for instance, just like that. I like that idea. I do like that idea. Another superpower I've definitely fantasized about is being able to speak every language, not only the known languages that we use today, but ancient languages also. That would be fucking killer. That would be winner, avocado salad dinner. Oh yeah. I would want to be the polyglot to end all polyglots. If I could do that, that would be amazing. I know it also sounds probably just a little bit soppy, but I would like to be able to have the superpower to help people to believe in themselves and to do whatever it is that they most want to do in their hearts. I would like to be able to invest people with the strength that they need to start movements, to unite together, to use their voices. I'd love to be able to go round and sense the need for that on an individual level and make it happen. Maybe I would like to have this in the opposite direction as well, and maybe take a little bit of confidence away from certain groups of people who seem to have a fuck of a lot of it right now and really don't deserve any of it. They're just messing everything up. Yes, I'd like to take confidence away from the alt-right, thank you. That'd be so great. Question number 11. What is something random on your altar? Right now, a random thing on my altar that I can show you is my disco ball, and this is random both in terms of me just selecting it at random, but also the fact that for a lot of people it might just be a bit random. Here's my disco ball. I got it from Poundland before I went to a festival in 2017, and it reminds me of that festival and the joy and the shenanigans at that festival every time I look at it. It also looks amazing in candlelight, as you can imagine, so I like to keep it around. A disco ball is actually quite a good metaphor. If we were going to think about objects, it would be quite a good metaphor for who I think I am in my soul. And now I'm thinking about Vince Noir from the Mighty Boosh in the mirror ball suit, which is also a good metaphor for who I think I am in my soul, to be honest. Question number 12. If one of the YouTubers you watched was a genie and they could grant you 3 wishes within their power, who would it be and what wishes? I know when Little Cosmic Crow answered this question, she selected a YouTuber that's not within the witchy world. And one of the things that she wished for was that that YouTuber would not stop making content. So I think what I'm going to do is just say that a lot of my favourite witchy channels and my favourite tarot channels and stuff like that I really enjoy, and a lot of the newcomers as well whose work I've been discovering, whose work I've really loved, my only wish to them would be that they don't stop making content. I actually have a massive list that I've been compiling over the course of a few months, which is filled with witchy and spiritual and tarot YouTubers that have under 1,000 subscribers at the moment, that I want to make sure that I shout out, that we get people to their channels, that we get people interacting with them. Because my worry is that this amazing wave that we've been riding for a while now of fresh blood and new insights and different things coming out is going to go the way of the dodo. I feel like we do have our dry spells, we do have our times where everybody's just watching one little key handful of people. I feel like sometimes we forget that we can go out there and we can search YouTube for lots of the other new fresh faces and new talent that's coming along, people talking about things in a different way, you know, really just kind of bringing more bulk and more insight and more excitement to the community. I get that this is a really like peace and love answer to this question, but honestly I don't have 3 wishes that I would level at any particular YouTuber. I don't really have anything that much that I want from any particular YouTuber, but what I do want is to see content consistently being created by lots of awesome people in the spiritual, witchy and tarot communities, and I want to do my bit to shout out those people that deserve a little bit more attention, a little bit more shine, some more eyeballs on them. So I'm going to be doing that shortly, and it's probably going to be over the course of 2 videos or maybe even 3. There's that many names of people that I'm really impressed with what they're doing, and I don't want them to feel discouraged, you know, by feeling that there's this massive disparity between the really much bigger YouTubers in this kind of area and then the YouTubers that are just starting out, that maybe feel like they can't get the degree of interaction that they would like for starting out their channel. I want to see, you know, that there's lots of different people having conversations and having dialogue and feeling like their voices are being heard and there's an exchange there, because it is much harder now with YouTube. I know that you'll hear lots and lots of the more sort of OG witchy YouTubers complaining about the lack of the response functionality. We used to have like a response function where all of the videos that were direct responses to the video that you're watching would come up underneath, and that made it a lot more community oriented. It meant that people could really see videos from other YouTubers, and it meant that YouTubers that had a smaller following but had something to say could be seen and could be heard and could have eyeballs on them. We don't have those kinds of features anymore. It's not really about that now, and YouTube is much more oriented towards those who can really make a massive, very comfortable full-time living off of YouTube. And I think a lot of the way YouTube is designed is to satisfy those people and make sure those people are okay. And so I think in terms of smaller communities and in terms of like sort of fostering different voices within those communities, we need to be responsible for doing that. And when I say we, I do mean we as a collective, like everybody can be supporting each other, watching each other's stuff, shouting each other out. But I think also what I'm specifically referring to is people like me, people who have a larger subscriber count for this specific community, who can then take some of the responsibility for using their platform to, you know, pay attention to others who are coming through with their own insights and making really great videos. So I'm definitely going to be making sure I do my part in that regard. Question number 13. If you could instantly become an expert in any part of your craft or spirituality, what would it be? This is difficult because I'd always say tarot, but I am a tarot professional and I have been a tarot professional for quite a few years now. I do read the cards for a living. That's how I make the majority of my money. So whether or not you could say that means I'm an expert, I mean, to me, I've always said that I think being in love with tarot and working with tarot is about being a perpetual student. I don't think I'm ever going to be an expert per se. I know people are far more fucking learned than I am and they don't feel like experts, so why would I? But obviously I know enough about my job and am good enough at my job to be a pro in that industry and have many return clients and all that kind of jazz. So that's definitely been something that I've loved and enjoyed. My instinct, now that I have been a tarot professional for a while and that's something that I've mastered to the point where I can do it to make money, would be to move on to looking into different forms of magic far more deeply, and not just using magic for myself and kind of giving out little bits of information here and there on magic and how it works or what the different schools of it are, but really going deep with certain forms of magic that I find to be really interesting and really inspiring. And I also want to get far more well read and far more like grounded in chaos magic as a paradigm as well. So yeah, those kinds of things, I think, yeah, that's kind of where I'm headed more now. Question number 14. When you die, what do you think will happen to you or your soul? I feel like when I die, my energy that animates me is going to go on to animate something else, and I think that I, as Kelly Ann Maddox, as we know her right now in this physical incarnation, is not going to be here anymore. I do think that it's possible that I will leave an energy signature, because I think that's part of what leaving a legacy and what leaving memories is all about. So I do think that's possible, and I do think people will be able to interact with whatever parts of me I leave behind for the taking, you know, to be interacted with. Will I have any awareness of that as the person that I am now? No, I don't think so. I don't think that my ego's individual ongoing needs are going to be there. I think that it's possible for me to leave traces of myself as the essence of who I was as a human being, and I think definitely I'll be able to connect with people like that, or they'll be able to connect with me. But I feel like ultimately the bulk of my spirit is going to go on to repatriate itself first of all into the collective river of spirit, and then it's going to recycle itself essentially. The energy that animates me is going to sort of cleanse itself completely and then download into something else. It's going to start nurturing a sapling, it's going to become an animal, it's going to do whatever it's going to do, it's going to start blowing the clouds through the sky, you know, and maybe there is a rhyme or a reason to what it will end up doing. I'm not sure, but I'm happy with whatever the fuck it is that it ends up doing. It's not going to be animating me anymore, because my body is going to be food for worms, so it's not going to make any odds, but it would be interesting to know. I also though have a very, very strong belief that I'm going to be able to let people know that I'm okay on the other side. So I definitely have some stake in this idea of my energy signature and using that as some kind of portal to be able to tell people that I'm okay. But maybe that just would come from their consciousness and their imagination, but I believe that's true. You know what I mean? So it's almost like it wouldn't come from my side necessarily, but that doesn't make it not true. In fact, there's a story that Yoko Ono has told about John Lennon. She said that before he was tragically murdered, they were lying together in bed one day, and he turned to her and said, "If I go before you, I'll give you a message to let you know that I'm safe on the other side." And she said that years later she was setting up an installation in an art gallery, and there was a big closed skylight up in the ceiling, and she said she was just rearranging things on the floor, and this big white dove feather just floated down and kind of landed in the middle of her art piece. And she said that she knew that was it, that was the sign, she felt it. And I can't ever get over the idea that that's possible for me too, but I think it could be lots more to do with the energy, the magic, the vision, the will that the people that leave behind me will have to summon me, my essence, my spirit to their beingness, and know that that is a fucking real thing and that it transcends death. Okay, I got real deep there. Question number 15. Where do you see yourself spiritually in the next 5 years? I would like to see myself as being far more closely bonded to the key archetypes and beings that I work with now. I would like to see myself as having actually just more physical space to be able to have altars and shrines and more space to just kind of chill out and do my shadow work or do more larger scale rituals. I would love that. I see myself as having sort of a more dynamic and close relationship with the two principal divine feminine beings that I work with, and that's something that I really want to invest myself in. It's something I really want to connect with more fully. I also see myself as having put out many more resources to help other people with their spiritual journeys, and that includes books, that includes little video courses, it includes the videos that I put out here on YouTube, and I will keep letting you guys know what's going on with me in relation to that. Okay, so this has been really an interesting tag to do. I would like to tag a few people. I've got a little short list here that I made before this started. So I want to tag Raw Spirit, Erica. I'm going to leave the channels down below. I want to tag Raw Spirit. I want to tag Akashic Song. I want to tag Hearth Witch, Mintfaery, Nathan's Way, and Rook's Hollow. I would really love to see any or all of those amazing witchy and spiritual beings doing this tag. So yeah, let me know down below what you thought of the answers to my questions. Let me know if you've done the tag so I can hop on over and other people can hop on over as well and watch it on your channel. Try not to post the links in your comments because they'll probably go to spam, and I don't always look at my spam. I haven't always got time to go through it. So just let us know, give us a heads up that you've posted it on your channel and we can pop over there and find it on your channel as well. Much love. Until next time, baby cakes. Blessed be.